Welcome back to Business and Politics. I'm Dante Klink. We're talking to Ms. Gina Romero of Women Connected Women, I'm sorry. It's interesting that your idea of entrepreneurship is somewhat different from what people in the Philippines talk about when they discuss entrepreneurship. It's quite frustrating, really, because a lot of people here talk about cottage industries, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But they're talking about self-employment, maybe baking some pies or whatever, doing something from home. But technology really is a much more interesting field, and you've opened up these opportunities for women, including this woman you were saying who was 16 initially, joined your program at 18, is now doing data annotation. I don't even know what data. Maybe you should tell us what that is first. But maybe talk about your entrepreneurial journey, right? And maybe the journey of some of the people you've worked with, like this woman you're talking about, from essentially becoming hopeless and now having these new life and going back to school again for new opportunities.
Yeah, so I think like many entrepreneurs, I ended up doing what I'm doing somewhat by accident. It's not something that you necessarily...
You didn't grow up, with your mom telling you you need to start a business or anything like that.
Not at all. I mean, because of the circumstances that happened. Actually, I was planning to be a vet because we had a farm, right?
Okay.
So I was studying BS biology, but I'm not an academic type. I'm not really inclined to studying. So to be honest, I was already struggling with focusing in school. I already had some side hustle stuff going on. I don't think that the traditional path is for everyone, right? So entrepreneurs tend to be those who veer away from the traditional path, whether it's encouraged or not. And but for me, it's all about problem solving. If I see a problem, I want to solve it. And I think similar for many entrepreneurs. But the difference with technology is it really allows us to impact more people, right? Create more scale. And I think the term social enterprise is still relatively new in this part of the world, in Asia. But, the model of social enterprise is that you can make money, but you can also embed doing good into your business model. And that's something that I see a lot in the Philippines because there's so many problems to solve. So I think I see a lot of social entrepreneurs, but like you mentioned, a lot of them will veer away from using tech, and it's such a shame. We need to encourage more entrepreneurs to leverage technology because they can scale their impact and help more people.
Right, so talk about how you got started, because I would think that given your background, you're in UK, there must have been many opportunities, even when you went to Singapore with your husband, many opportunities for you to do the conventional, which was to go into tech, make lots of money, be like a Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, right? Why a social enterprise where, you would think that would be limiting in terms of the potential income that, that we see these fabulous success stories, in the news, like from Elon Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg. Your journey must have been quite interesting.
I think there's a shift in how people look at business, or definitely there's starting to be a bigger shift now, and especially with the young generations as well. I mean, the business that we've seen of old is not as sustainable, right? In many ways. I mean, there's a lot of criticism around the big platforms that don't give back. It's difficult to justify sometimes the amount of wealth that's being generated by some businesses and not having a built-in mechanism to do good. So I think the socially responsible sort of enterprise model is becoming not just a trend, but I think it will be the future of business.
So did that ever attract you? I mean, did that ever sort of appeal to you, making these, overnight, becoming an overnight sensation, making billions of dollars? Is that something that came to you? Because I'm thinking about your mother's influence, frankly. And one of the speeches you made where you were growing up, you met your mom's friends, you called them your titas and aunties, and you were looking to play with their children, except that they left their children back home in the Philippines. So I was wondering how those things connected in maybe molding your own plans as an entrepreneur.
Well, I don't think making billions is what keeps me awake at night.
So it wasn't your thing, right?
No, but I really don't want the misconception that social enterprises will be sort of like poor, small, charities that can't scale. I think that a social enterprise does good because that good is built into the business model, but it doesn't mean that it can't be profitable.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it can't scale.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it can't impact millions from an impact perspective and a commercial perspective.
Right.
So I think it's a shift in thinking, and I'm seeing it a lot now, so that's very encouraging. But
the point is, it's this marriage of this social advocacy and I guess the business opportunity or the business skill set that you have, right? I mean, a lot of people would go into business really to have this financial success, these trappings of success.
But it makes sense to tap this pool, right?
Yeah, you wanted to do something different.
Yeah, well, the future is in the masses. I mean, there's 3.9 billion people in the world who are not even online yet. The majority are women and girls. It makes good business sense to empower this group, right? I mean,
that's what I mean. Was that something that was ingrained on you from an early age by your mom and being around her friends and say, look, you saw something early on in your life that, hey, how come I'm not playing with their friends? And maybe I can do something about it. Is that something that
I think it kicked in later. I think the seeds were planted at an early age. Because honestly, if I look back on the different times in my life, it wasn't always clear. Like I get women reaching out to me all the time saying, can you help me because I feel like I haven't found my purpose yet. I want to do something like you. I want to do something impactful. And they're like 25 years old sometimes. They're still at the beginning and they feel old. They'll say, ma'am, I'm getting old and I still haven't found my purpose. But the reality is maybe now, probably just about now, that things are starting to move in the right direction for connected women and we found a good model that works. I can look back and I can say, all of these things contributed to where I am now.
But artificial intelligence, for many people, including myself, I must admit, it sounds a bit vague. We hear that it's something big. I won't pretend that I truly understand it, but you've actually made it appealing to masses, right? So talk about that. What are the opportunities that you see there that other women like yourself can take advantage of?
Well, I think first of all, this space, only a handful of people in the world actually really understand it.
What is it exactly?
Well,
it's not machine learning, right? I mean, it's not software thinking or supplanting.
We're basically training machines to take over tasks that humans do. Anything that is monotonous, repetitive, or manual that could be handed to a machine that they could do better and faster and more efficiently is what automation and artificial intelligence is all about.
So where is the human intervention that that now fits in with the people that you're helping?
So what people don't realize is AI is still 80% manual, input in the back end at the moment. I mean, that may change in the future, but for now, there's still a lot of what we call human in the loop. So humans provide the data for the artificial intelligence to learn, and that data has to be clean, and it has to be processed, and it has to be structured in the right way. Otherwise, the machine can't learn from it. So that means that all of the piles of paper that we have in the office. It means that all of the forms that haven't yet been digitized, all of that has to go through the process of digitalization before it can even be fed into a machine.
I see. So the people that you're helping, do they see this as an end goal, or is it or can be an entry point to maybe learning a skill and then maybe venturing on their own? Are there instances like that?
There are so many different ways that this can pan out for them. I mean, some, it really depends on their ambition. Some of these mothers, they just want to put food on the table. So they need a flexible job that they can do from home that gives them an extra income. But some of them start like that, and then they're like, wow, they start to understand the projects that we're part of and what we're building, and it's so exciting for them. And so they start to get more curious and more confident, of course, and then they start studying on their own. So there are lots of different career tracks, like data scientist, and who knows, the jobs of the future. We don't even know what they are yet.
Exactly, and it's kind of frustrating that when they talk about entrepreneurship in the Philippines, they talk about something totally different from what you may hear in Singapore and maybe in UK. In Singapore, they're talking of Singapore as a startup nation, much like Israel, right? And really, IT and things like AI are at the backbone of those things. And as I said, there's nothing wrong with what's going on here, except that maybe we're not pursuing the higher value-added opportunities that are becoming available in the world. Do you get that sense?
Yeah, I think we have so much potential actually in this space, like really a lot. I mean, when I came back to the Philippines, I came back because I wanted to help, but I stayed because of the potential. I mean, I can really see that we have the talent, we have the language capability, we have so much intelligence here, and we have people who really want to solve problems. And I think that's the most critical component, really, of entrepreneurship. Technology means that we're not as disadvantaged. I know that we talk about connectivity not being the best in the world, but it's not that bad, honestly, for someone who's lived in other countries as well.
Obviously, 80,000 people on your platform, there's something going right?
Yeah, we have access to people. And I mean, the level of connectivity and the interest in getting connected and being part of social networks or everything else is really high. So we have a very young, active, socially sort of connected community. We have good English skills, although we need to maintain that, of course. Very important. So, yeah.
No, but you know what frustrates me sometimes is that the government has retraining programs for OFWs coming back home. They have these entrepreneurship programs, various ones, both from the government, from the private sector, but very few of them are really, technology based. I mean, that's, I feel that, maybe, yes, we have these other resources, but there's a lot of opportunities out there that they seem to be overlooking. I mean, how would you help, for instance, say, the Department of Labor? I mean, they've been coming up with this retraining program for OFWs for many, many, many years. I think several presidential terms already, right? And yet the skills that they're teaching, I'm not sure if it's the kind of skills that are even related to AI, like what you guys are doing.
Yeah, well, I think there's a few things. I think timing, of course, is everything, right? I think now is a better time to look at these because there were too many challenges probably before now in terms of connectivity and everything else. We work very closely with Department of ICT. When I came back in 2016, they were already championing digital jobs programs. So they've done a lot of work already on the ground, along with infrastructure development. But I think we need all the brains together, right? No one, person or group can solve this. And I see a lot of collaboration on the ground, which is great. I mean, in terms of developing future skills, Connected Women, I think, is a bit of a showcase project, not just for the Philippines, but globally. We've been invited to speak at the AI Summit in Amsterdam. We've been invited to go to Penang, Malaysia, to speak at the Innovation and Technology Summit there. I think a lot of people dismissed this group and didn't realize that reskilling women from these types of groups would even work. But we're not the first. I mean, we've seen similar models successfully deployed in Africa, in India, decades back in a different form. We're just kind of looking at what's worked for other countries and we're trying to repurpose it for what we can work here in the Philippines.
Well, that's good to hear. So some of my concern is misplaced, that there are some pockets of collaboration already going on. So that's very encouraging. We'll be right back with Business and Politics. We're talking to Ms. Gina Romero of Connected Women.